Are you looking to import data into HubSpot, but you're confused by the options that you get when you go to the import area? Well, I'm going to walk you through those here in this video.
Welcome to HubSpot Hacks, where we help you get more out of HubSpot.
Importing data into HubSpot is a pretty straightforward task, but it requires quite a bit of work on the front end to make sure that the data you're importing matches the database you've set up in HubSpot. Let's go ahead and jump in and walk you through it. So here I've got my test portal set up, and you'll actually see that we've got a variety of contacts. Again, not a whole lot of data here because we're just testing this, but to import any sort of data, you're going to be here in the import screen. So you can get to there from contacts, which is where I am right now, or you can also be here at companies. It'll give you the same import button, but either way, it's going to take you to the same screen. So when I click import, it's going to take me over to here and ask me, do I want to import it from a file, or am I looking to sync another tool with it? So we're not going to go over the syncing of other tools in this video. If you happen to have something like a custom database, or maybe you have information from like MailChimp or a different other like ESP, you can sync those either through a custom integration or through one that HubSpot already has on the ecosystem. Again, we won't talk about that here, but if you do have that issue or you want to explore that, drop me a note in the comment of this video and we'll get back to you. Here in the import, we're going to click Start and Import. So it's going to ask you what you want to import. So let's talk about a couple of opportunities here as to why you would do this. So it might be that you're getting started and using HubSpot for the first time and you want to import your database from a previous CRM, or maybe you have, let's say, a list of contacts that have stopped by your booth at a trade show, and so you want to import them here. Or maybe there's a list of webinar recipients from a tool that you used prior to HubSpot that you want to import in here as well. So again, there's a lot of different ways that you might think about this. So in this case, we're going to select a file from a computer and then hit next. So how many files are you importing? Now here's where it gets a little bit tricky. So when you import data into HubSpot, HubSpot is arranged in objects. And so HubSpot wants to know, where is this data going to go? What object is it being associated with? So think about this as like a contractor coming into your house and he's got a whole bunch of supplies and he's going to work on a room in the house. But then when you enter the front door, are you working on the bathroom, the living room, or the hallway? That's what HubSpot kind of wants to know here. So in the case of one file, this means all of the information we have is about contacts, or all the information we have is about deals. Multiple files with association means that I've got a file for deals, I've got a file for contacts, and I've got a file for companies. We're not going to go through this complex upload here in this demo video, but we're going to just work on this one file. It's actually easier to think about many companies that I work with when they first import data into HubSpot. There's a lot of cleanup that they have to do anyway. So keeping it simple here is definitely the way to go. So we're going to click on one file. Now here it's going to ask again what object I'm associating this data to. So if you've exported information about a contact from your previous CRM, I would say probably 80% of the imports that I walk clients through is importing data about contacts. So in HubSpot, all of the records are associated around a customer contact and not necessarily a company. We'll talk about that here in a second. So we've got one contact, your file only has data on contacts. If you have multiple objects, for example, let's say this is a more complex situation, unless you're pretty versed with databases and importing data, you may want to find some assistance on this, but this might be if you have contacts and then you also have deals in that same source file. So we're just going to go with one object here. So in this case, again, what object are you importing? So let's say I'm importing all of my deals from a previous CRM. I'm importing a list of products that we sell. I'm importing a list of the companies that we have our contacts associated to. For the most part, if you're just getting started to HubSpot, or again, any of the scenarios that I laid out here previously, you're probably going to be working on contacts most of the time. So we're going to select contacts. So here now it's going to say, let's go ahead and upload this file. So unlike some other CRMs or email or database providers, you sometimes have to use just a CSV. In this case, all these three different versions of Excel files are utilized as well. So if I choose a file, I'm going to search for my HubSpot file on my desktop. And I've got an example file here. Let's open this real quick. I'll just give you a look. We've got first name, last name, email address, favorite food, and then mobile phone number. So I'm going to go ahead and open this and tell HubSpot that I want to upload it. Perfect. Okay, so what's this little box here that says contacts using contact ID? So contact ID is the way that HubSpot can say, do I already have this contact in the system? And do we want to update this individual? So contact ID is a couple of different ways. So I actually pulled up the Knowledge Center article just so we can walk through this, because if you do need more documentation, I'll put this in the notes of this video, but definitely you can walk through here. So real quick, I got this sample file from these documentation notes in the Knowledge Center. So if you're importing any of these objects, you can actually then use any of these sample spreadsheets. But I'm gonna go up here into the import requirements. So let's bounce right up here. So the unique identifier is a couple of things. So it's either the email, the company domain name, or the HubSpot ID. So if you're importing a list for the very first time into HubSpot and your HubSpot has no other data in it, you're probably not gonna worry about checking this box. This box becomes important when you import a list from, let's say, again, a trade show or a previous email database when you've already got data in your HubSpot. You wanna make sure that that data either gets updated or it gets entered for the first time. And so if we check this box using contact ID exported from HubSpot, then it's we need a contact ID column in our import, which is most likely going to be the email address. So again, this is preventing that deduping. If you do end up with duplicates, we have another video showing you how to dedupe, and so you can definitely check that out in the notes below. All right, so we're going to pretend this is a first time import, and we're gonna click on next. So then the next step is to map these field properties to the ones in HubSpot. So essentially take the cells and say, where does this data and this cell go to in HubSpot? So we're all looking for the information in HubSpot, and you'll notice in HubSpot's already figured out that we've got, 4 of these match up with fields that we have in HubSpot. We've got this favorite food one here, and you know what? I don't actually have this because this is a custom property that I created in my previous, let's say, email campaigns or maybe my previous CRM, and I haven't yet created it in HubSpot. So here's one of the dilemmas that you're gonna face is if you don't have this property in HubSpot yet, you'll need to pause, cancel this, go create that property in HubSpot, and then come back and restart your import. Otherwise, what happens is everybody you import here you'll have to choose to just not import this field. So don't import this column. So all that data about their favorite foods is not gonna come along with them in this import. So if we do this, we're gonna select will not import right now, just for the sake of the demonstration. And we're gonna click on next. And then every time you import a list, or in this case, upload a list, it depends on your vernacular and how you say it, but it will give it an import name. And so this is where the kind of cleanliness of HubSpot comes in, and an overall structure of like your operational piece of HubSpot. So how you name your imports should be something consistent every time you import them. So you need to develop some sort of naming convention here where it's like, maybe it's the date and then the name of where it came from and then the initials of whoever imported it. That's just a suggestion, but definitely think about that as you're importing or using files and file structure inside of HubSpot. So if you wanted to create a list of contacts from this import, you certainly could. This is typically a best practice just so that you can go back and see exactly who was imported from that specific list. So we're going to click that here. And the list is going to be named whatever that import name is. So again, the import name shows on the historical page of all of the imports. And it also shows you, in this case, if I checked a list, then I can say, go to my list and see that this is also here. If I check this one here, HubSpot, pretty much every ESP is going to ask you this, or email service provider is going to ask you if you have permission to email these folks. So if you check this box, again, you are accepting all of the ramifications that come with it if you start spamming these folks without them giving you consent. I know there's a fine line between they've exhibited interest in you at a trade show and sending them 25 emails, but you do make sure that you're not ripping lists off and just blindly emailing folks, because that will hurt your email deliverability and your overall domain health. So we're going to click on this here and click Finish Import. So I did not rename that import, but you'll be able to see what that looks like here when I go to the list. So in this import, we've got past imports, and it's showing me that we've got, 3 new records. If there was any errors in that import, so let's say you have a list of 250 people. Sometimes we'll find that, there was an extra space right before someone's email address, and so that one didn't get imported. And so actually what you'll get if you get an error is you'll have an Excel file you can download here that will show you the reason why it didn't import, and then you can go ahead and fix that, re-upload it, and then go ahead and clean up the rest of that data if you need to. So we can click on View Contacts, which I can do here. So let's go ahead and go to View Contacts. Okay, so I've got these 3 contacts that I just added to my HubSpot CRM. And if I want to see that list that we just discussed, I can go to Lists. And I can open up this HubSpot example, contacts import file. So again, you can see this is why you want to name it, because this name doesn't really mean a whole lot to anybody except for me probably. So if I want to see this, it's a static list. We have a video about static versus active if you're curious about that. Static again just means that I put them on the list. There's no dynamic moving them on and off automatically. Whoever's in this room stays in this room unless I take them off. So I can go ahead and see who's on that list. Or if I wanted to go to my settings, I can look at the imports and exports that have happened in my HubSpot CRM from a historical perspective. I scroll down on the left, click on import and export, and then you'll be able to see go to import and then past imports right here. So this is a great thing, again, if there's multiple people on your team that are importing information, or if you have someone who's doing this as more of an admin and you want to kind of verify the information, you can all see that here in the HubSpot CRM. So last piece I wanted to show you, when we go back to contacts, because I've got all those folks on a static list, I could choose to look at those people only in the contact view from the ones that were just imported. So if I wanted to do that, I'd click on my filters here, and then I wanted to say they've been imported is part of this specific list, and then apply filter. So again, if you were working on, let's say, a trade show follow-up, this is a really great way or an easy way to just see all of those folks that you might need to discuss in that upcoming sales meeting. So that's it. That's how to import information and contacts to your HubSpot CRM. For more tips, tricks, and how-tos, go ahead and hit that subscribe button, and we will see you next week.